Welcome back. We have another video for you. So, this one's going to be about why stagehands are important, why they are the backbone of any festival. They literally create these events. Whether it's a major festival or it's just a show at your local venue, the people behind it are the stagehands typically. There's audio techs and visuals, VJs, and laser techs and stuff, but stagehands are the ones doing all the pushing and the work in the back end, making sure all the lighting rigs are even in place for the lighting designer to even do the lights, making sure the lasers are where they need to be. Like, if it wasn't for these people, there would be no show. You can have the biggest artists in the world, but if there's no stage, if there's no lighting, there's no lasers production whatsoever, there's no speakers that were set up to play the music, the artist is just a guy there with his laptop and gear, and that's it. You got to have the people who are the backbone, and I feel like a lot of times they don't get the credit. Typically the artists get the credit for what they do, which they deserve the credit. They've built their brand, they've built up what they do, they have created something, music, that brings people together to a point where people are willing to pay to go see them. And that's beautiful. But you have to realize the people behind it, stagehands. These people work really hard to ensure that you have an event to even go to. So next time you see someone in their show blacks, typically they're wearing all black and they look tired. They're pushing carts, they're pushing cases, setting stuff up, running back and forth. Give them a high five. Let them know you appreciate their work, because a lot goes into it and they really do create what we love so much. I've done a lot of stagehand work in the past, in the last like 4 years, and it is pretty backbreaking work. It can be really tough. Literally 8 to 16 hour days for weeks at a time even, and that's a lot. If it's like an arena tour, for example, I've worked a couple of arena tours, and it's not as backbreaking, but it's way more time crunched because you have to set up that day and load out that night, because if they're on an arena tour, they need that gear in the next city the next day or two, and it takes time to load all of that back in the truck. The truck driver has to drive it all the way to Nashville or Indianapolis, wherever they're going, and there's time crunch. There's so much logistics that go into what a show is, and you gotta just praise these people because they are the backbone of any event. Actually, they are the ones that keep the show on schedule, even, because if you have a team and they aren't really performing as well, then some pieces of gear might not get put up in time. If there's a show start time at 8 p.m., the gear needs to be ready and done a few hours before so they can do testing, they can make sure everything works, and if there's anything that is broken or needs to be replaced, then get that done before showtime starts. And you don't want to have a crowd there and half the gear is just like looking sloppy or stuff's not working. Like, what if the speakers don't work or a few of the speakers will blow out? You got to be prepared for those things. And once again, the stagehands are the ones pushing and making that happen. So you really gotta, once again, I think you got to give these guys praise. And a lot of times they don't, because people don't really realize what goes into an event. They just see the artist playing. You get there, you see the artist playing. The stage is already built. Like, you don't see the back end work. So you got to really give them their props because it takes a lot. And they're ensuring that the equipment is safe as well. A lot of this equipment has been used for years. It's being rented out. Some people own it. It just depends on what type of company is running the event. A lot of big companies, they just buy the gear outright and then they're just reusing the same thing. Really, really big artists have their own gear. They've been using it for years, and stuff breaks. Electronics break. A lot of this stuff is worth a lot of money, and when you're pushing it to the brink every night for weeks on end, and then you're renting it out to other companies who might not have the same standards as you do, it can things break. So you got to ensure that stuff is good and you have a team that actually cares and values your gear because once again, very expensive. So you don't want to just have Blow Joe running around throwing stuff around. Like, that's not what we need. You definitely want to have a dedicated team who actually values your equipment and what you're doing for people, because live music saves a lot of people. It really does. So you gotta realize who these people are and what they do. What I will say also, they work hard. Long hours, very, very long hours. And it's a lot. A lot of the time, the people working don't even get to see the show. They're putting in all that work and they don't even get to see the work in action. And that's just part of it sometimes. It's work. You're getting paid to do what you do. And that's what you have to sacrifice. And for me, depending on the show, like, for example, I'm not the biggest fan of country music. If I put up a country show, I'm not too pressed if I don't get to see the show. I'm not necessarily happy about it sometimes because I like to find new music. Even if it's a genre or an artist I'm not the biggest fan of, I put in work to make this happen. A lot of work, a lot of hours. I want to at least see what it looks like, the finished product. You know, you work on something, you want to see where your hard work paid off. But that's the name of the game sometimes. And that's what you sacrifice when you decide to work. Even doing work as a volunteer or doing things as like a food vendor, like, you're sacrificing seeing some of your favorite sets potentially to get a free ticket or make a little bit of money, whatever that looks like. And unsung heroes in my book, because they really do make the show happen. If there are no stagehands, there is no show. You can't have 3 techs build a show. Like, that's just not going to happen. You got to have a team of, it's a lot of people. Like, I'm not going to say exactly how many people, because different venues and different shows need different level and sizes of teams. But like for Taylor Swift, like 70 plus trucks of gear that needs to be unloaded. That is a lot of gear that needs to be placed in the right place and tested to make sure it works. Out of all those trucks, everything is not going to just be perfect. You'd like to think and you'd like to hope so, but there's problems. You got to troubleshoot those problems. And that might not necessarily be the stagehand's job, but they are the ones getting everything into place. So you just have to really be grateful for these people. And when it comes to this type of work, professionalism is key. You got to have people who actually are on their P's and Q's. They're on time. They value what they do. Because anyone can say, oh, I want to be a stagehand, but are you willing to actually put in that work? Are you willing to work those really long, grueling shifts? Sometimes you're working until like 4 a.m, tearing down. If a show ends at 10, and then you got a whole bunch of gear to get out, and there's a timeline for them, because maybe the truck driver they have their own schedule too. So there's just so many things that go into it. You have to really, really be on point. And you can't be tired, and you might be tired, but a Monster Energy goes a long way sometimes, or some coffee. And you signed up for this. If you signed up for a job, you got to do it right. And put yourself in the shoes of someone who is running it. They want to make sure their team is reflecting on them. You want a team of people who are on their P's and Q's. I said the same thing, but it really is important to have a team that cares, because if you are on a team and you do care, you get more gigs, because everyone wants the guy on their team who actually cares and is going to show up 15 minutes early and isn't going to complain. They actually provide a nice service and value to the team. And it is noticed by a lot of people, but it does go unnoticed a lot of the times. So just be aware, stagehands are very important to this industry overall. And just show these guys a little bit of respect. I feel like a lot of times people they can be kind of rude, or they might look at it as just like, oh, they're just pushing cases or whatever, whatever. And it's like, well, if these guys weren't doing the work, you wouldn't be able to see your favorite artists. So just give them a nice pat on the back, because a lot of them could really use it. I've worked with a lot of crews, and sometimes people can just be very beat down. They're like, man, I feel like I'm doing all this work, and not necessarily, you don't need to be praising like, oh my God, they're the best people in the world, but thank you for what you do. It's as simple as that. That can make someone's day, especially when you've been working 10 hours and you've had a couple of breaks and you barely eaten and you're just like, man, I'm tired. But it goes a long way. And at the end of the day, live music depends on teamwork. It is just that. There is so many moving parts, and the parts need to move together to ensure the show goes on as needed. Because there's a lot of money that goes into this, and as an attendee, you're paying money to see a good show. You don't want to come to a show you paid a couple $100s for, floor seats, GA pit, and it's just kind of, you can just tell it wasn't put together the right way. It makes you feel like you kind of wasted some money. Maybe not wasted money, but you didn't get the bang for your buck that you were hoping for. That's all I'm going to say on that. Respect your stagehands. Show them some love. If you see them, just know they are the unsung heroes of the entertainment industry in general. And they do matter a lot. And I appreciate being able to do some of the work I have done, because I've worked on some of the biggest tours in the world, and I'm grateful that I've been able to provide an experience for people and see what it's like on the other side. Because I've been an attendee for 6-7 years, and it's cool that I've been able to see and do some of the things that a lot of people would dream to do. So respect your stagehands. Thank you very much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.